Hey there, and welcome to this explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're here today because we are looking at something truly empowering. Have you ever had just a brilliant idea for a mobile app, but then felt completely stopped in your tracks by all the technical hurdles? Well, today we're going to unlock the doors to Android Studio. Think of Android Studio as your ultimate digital workshop. It's a place equipped with literally every single tool you could possibly need to turn those ambitious, kind of abstract ideas floating around in your head into a tangible, polished reality that millions of people can actually download. Okay, let's dive right into this. Here is our roadmap for today. We're going to cover the Android Studio ecosystem, your developer toolkit, the build process, testing and debugging, launching your app, and finally, wrap up with some quick facts. So, the big question right up front: can you build the next big app? Look, it is completely normal to feel intimidated by the mobile tech landscape. I get it. It's massive, it's fast-paced, and it is constantly evolving. But I really want to validate your ambition right here, right now. Developing an app that stands out might seem like a daunting task, but with the right tool set at your fingertips, building an outstanding, world-class app is entirely possible. It's really not about being a genius. It's just about having the right workshop. And that workshop is what we call an IDE, or Integrated Development Environment. It is super important to understand that Android Studio isn't just a basic piece of software or some simple text editor where you're just typing out code. No, it is Google's official Android IDE. And what that means is it's a complete, all-in-one development ecosystem. It gives you a comprehensive suite of tools designed to support your entire creation process, literally from writing your very first line of code all the way to deploying the finished product out to the store.
All right, Section 1, the Android Studio ecosystem.
Let's step into the first phase of our workshop and see just how welcoming this environment actually is. One of the absolute biggest hurdles for new developers is designing the user interface, right? Well, enter the intuitive drag-and-drop UI layout editor. This thing acts as your visual drafting table, and it completely simplifies complex designs. You literally just drag buttons, text boxes, and images right onto a virtual phone screen. And why this matters is huge. It means you don't even need a background in graphic design or UI/UX principles to build something that is both beautiful and functional. Android Studio handles all the messy, complex formatting behind the scenes, while you just get to focus on the user experience. Of course, eventually you do have to write some code. But don't worry, Android Studio provides an intelligent code editor. Think of this as a highly skilled, really smart assistant sitting right next to you as you type. It provides advanced code completion, which means it basically guesses what you're trying to type and finishes your sentences for you. It highlights errors in real time, catching those pesky typos or logic flaws way before they become massive headaches. It's actively helping you write clean, efficient code right from the start. Moving right along, Section 2, your developer toolkit. Now, let's introduce the real heavy lifters of the workshop. These are the specific integrated tools that streamline your daily coding process. Continuing with our workshop metaphor here, the Gradle build system is your automated assembly line. It effortlessly manages all your files, libraries, and dependencies, wrapping them up into a single app package. Next up is the Emulator. This is your virtual testing track. So instead of needing 20 different physical Android phones sitting on your desk, the Emulator generates virtual devices right on your computer screen so you can test your app. And finally, the Profiler is your diagnostic dashboard. It gives you real-time data on exactly how much CPU, memory, and network activity your app is using. This way, you can make sure it runs lightning fast and, most importantly, doesn't drain your user's battery. And this brilliantly illustrates our next point. Section 3, the build process. So now that we have our tools, what exactly is the chronological creator's journey? How do we actually bring an app to life? Well, here is the exact life cycle you're going to follow. Step 1 is conceptualization and planning. This is where you're doing your market research, defining your target audience, and drawing up your initial wireframes. Step 2 is coding and development, where you utilize Android Studio's editor and tap into Android APIs. This is the fun part where you add cool features like GPS tracking, camera access, or in-app purchases. Step 3 is iterative testing, where you gather beta feedback to see how real people actually use your app. Step 4 is optimization and debugging, using that profiler we talked about to smooth out performance. And finally, Step 5 is deployment and marketing, where you submit your polished app to the world and start generating some real buzz. Which brings us to Section 4, testing and debugging. Okay, I want you to bring your energy up for this part. People so often treat testing like it's just a chore, but it is absolutely the crucial crucible where your app gets polished for the real world. Honestly, this is where a good app becomes a great app. You have a robust suite of tools at your disposal: unit tests for testing individual pieces of code, integration tests to see how those pieces play together, and UI tests to make sure the interface behaves correctly. And the best part? You do all of this extensive testing right inside the IDE. You can use the emulator to test your app across a massive range of Android hardware and software configurations. We're talking different screen sizes, older operating systems, you name it, ensuring total compatibility for every single user. And when you inevitably find a bug, and trust me on this, you will find bugs, it is practically a developer's rite of passage. Android Studio offers seamless debugging. Your two go-to instruments here are the Logcat tool and the built-in debugger. Logcat provides a super detailed, scrolling log of your app's runtime behavior. It's essentially a flight recorder for your software. And the built-in debugger? It's basically magic. It allows you to set real-time breakpoints. That means you can literally pause your app right in the middle of running it, pop open the hood, and inspect the exact values of your variables to see exactly where things went off the rails. Oh, and if you're building a team, Android Studio totally has you covered with version control integration via systems like Git. This is absolutely essential. It means multiple developers can manage code changes and work simultaneously on a cohesive project without, accidentally deleting each other's work. It saves you from a lot of very awkward team meetings for sure. It tracks every single change, so if something breaks, you can just easily roll back to a previous working version of your app. Section 5. Launching your app. This is it. We have reached the triumphant conclusion of our development journey. Your app is built, it's tested, it's debugged, so how do we actually get it into the hands of users? Well, the crucial point here is that Android Studio completely streamlines this whole publishing process. When you're finally deployment ready, the IDE guides you through generating the specific, secure files that the Google Play Store requires. Whether you're generating signed APKs, which stands for Android Package Kits, or the more modern app bundles, Android Studio walks you through the cryptographic signing process. This proves you are the authentic creator, making your app 100% ready for a successful release. And finally, Section 6, Android Studio Quick Sacks. We are transitioning to our final blueprint phase here to rapidly answer the most common questions and just eliminate any lingering technical barriers to entry you might have right now. First, and definitely most importantly, is it free? Yes, emphatically yes. This incredibly powerful platform, this entire digital workshop we just spent time exploring, will not cost you a single dime to download and use. It is a completely open source platform officially supported by Google. As for what kind of computer you need, the barrier to entry is surprisingly low. To put it in perspective, you only need a minimum of 8 gigabytes of RAM, just 4 gigabytes of available disk space, and a 64-bit operating system. And whether you're a Windows fan, a Mac OS user, or a Linux enthusiast, Android Studio is fully compatible with all of them. Now, what's really interesting about this next part is the language and platform breakdown. Android Studio primarily supports Java and Kotlin for development, with Kotlin definitely being the highly preferred modern choice because of its amazing safety features. But do note this, Android Studio is specifically designed for Android. If you want to build native iOS apps for Apple devices, you would typically need to use Apple's software, Xcode. However, if you want to kill two birds with one stone, you can totally use cross-platform frameworks like Flutter right within Android Studio to build apps for both Android and iOS simultaneously, a real game changer. Which brings us to our final question for today. What will you build first? You now know that these tools are free, they are accessible, and they are incredibly powerful. But at the end of the day, the technology is just a workshop. It's sitting there waiting for an architect. The app economy is fundamentally reshaping how the world lives, works, and plays every single day. So are you going to be just a consumer of these experiences, or are you ready to become a creator? The tools are waiting for you. Get out there and start building.